to be second election day. Now, when I was in court earlier today, two things happened. A group from Toco came and they had a meeting with me. But somebody from the intelligence community came and told me, listen, don't go walk down the hill, that's a bad idea. I still came. They say it's an ants nest, but no ants invite me. And I see no ants. I only see people, right? And I see people who are better, right? And that is why I come to deliver. Now, I see something very positive, a soldier in the content, doing something very positive for the community. I met a couple other people doing positive stuff. And once I get in, I tend to work with these positive soldiers in the community and work with the community because right now, Trinidad, where we are, the young black men, they're either ending up in the condemn or in the morgue, right? We are not to the corner. With no disrespect to Mr. Manu just doesn't have the capacity to deliver. That is what it is. Right? I'm not going to bad mouth Mr. Manu and say he's a bad person. I don't know him personally. I intend to keep this clean.
One piece.
Now,
One piece.
I want peace up here.
One piece.
Now something kind of onto what happened just now. There was an elderly lady cursing right through, and when she started the cursing in the pantry, and I had to talk to her and tell her, you know, as an elder, there are children around. Don't curse around the youth and them, because the youth and them had to look up to you, and you had to give the youth something to look up to. Right? You cannot be complaining about how the youth behaving if you behaving so. Right? So she needs to take her inward look. She needs to stand up in front of the mirror and have a conversation with herself.
That's right.
Another unpleasant thing that happened, I was lured into a shop and the youths and them was asking what I could do for them and all that. Now, they're telling me what I'm going to do for them. Oh, you ain't do nothing for them. But they're asking me what I'm going to do for you. Now, all I could do for you, as I told them, is I could take down the information and ask them for it by tomorrow. If they give me the names, the date of birth, the phone number, and what kind of job they want. So we determine if they're skilled or unskilled, and what kind of jobs we could fit them into after the election. And if they're unskilled, well, I don't know. I'm not a 10 days man, I'm not a 20 days man. Them things is for a limited reason.
And they're done. And they're done.
But what I was very disturbed about was they started to be irate and say that they could flip the script and they could determine the election, and if we don't give them something before the election, they're not going to flip the script in we favor. It was volatile, so I didn't want to tell them what was on my mind. What was on my mind was, if you don't want to flip the script, you can vote for Manu and continue to get nothing. You cannot beg nobody to vote, right? So I told them, there are people they can talk to, because there are a man they can talk to who own a certain company and would be able to provide jobs. Because what I am not going to do, I'm not going to do like the man who's giving away free money. That man is a contractor, he lives in Bayside Towers, he put 10,000 in your pocket for the election, and after that, you're not going to see him until next 5 years. I just want to pass the message on. I mean, Sturge will not be paying nobody to vote for you. If I had to pay for you to vote, it's better you no vote. Alright? Right. Now, the last thing I want to say, I want to close on positive again, because there are a lot of positives inside here. Grande is a place that's suffering. Okay? And I grew up in a community like that in Serrano, Delmont. After a little while I was in Bella Road, Delmont. And then after we all moved down, I had to go and live in Sharford Courts. And I had to leave Sharford Courts abruptly. Now that rent was $250 a month, small money. But so imagine I become a lawyer, I can pay rent elsewhere, but I say, these little people, let me say, when you how that ended. It ended by one of the people I grew up with telling me, well, you can store some guns and things for you. Because the police ain't gonna look at you because you're a lawyer. And you bring in the guns tomorrow. I say no problem, but tomorrow I wasn't there. And I never went back into there. Right? God bless my partner, so I'm not calling him. Right? Because he had a life in 27. But the purpose of that story is this. Listen, when you live in a community, sometimes you are put in positions. And when you get put in these positions, you find yourself in a lot of trouble. And then use the one facing the short end of the stick. And then the other people they say, well, the most we can do is help you with other ways. And then when it's time to make the change, you're not making it there. Right? So my thing for Damri in particular, I've passed all over the other communities, but Damri in particular and Northeastern settlement in these places, there are a lot of unemployed youths. I see Mr. Mono saying he's going to give them sustainable jobs. But what I want to ask, 5 years ago he didn't promise sustainable jobs, and he's still delivering in 5 years. That is a promise, and a promise is a comfort of food. Right? So, I want to say this. I am not really giving culture. Right? I give to who need. I see they try to make a legal issue out of the the water tax that was given. I say paying USC on it. I ain't paid nothing since I had passed. So I didn't pay it. So I was faced with a decision whether to give out the cans or not give it out. Or whether to turn away and go away with the cans until we can sweep out the game. Now that is behind the stupidity when you have someone with a need. Right? So what I'm going to tell you is if you have a need, I love the government now and I am trying to fulfill needs. Right? They on the other side giving away free money. Right? I'm sure all of you would know on 2 or 3 occasions I gave away free football boots in Australia's extension. Right? And on the last occasion, Easter Sunday or Monday when I gave away the asset, I get 30-something new names. All of a sudden, all in the trend, they want to play football. So I went and buy the boots for them. When I went Valencia later the night, about 60 youths come out. They want football boots too. I have no problem with that. Right? Because my belief is if we can do something like that in Damri Hill, where the youths could basically have a play, they could go and play football, you know, they could go and play cricket, they could go and play basketball, they could go and do a little music as is happening in Damri Hill. I think long term we will be able to change the trajectory, the direction we're going in. And that is what we understand. We understand with youths. Right? And that is going to be my commitment to Damri Hill. Right? I know I am not going to make a promise that I can deliver for everybody. Right? I see the roads, I see the drainage problems, but I think some of these issues, as bad as they are, once people have the basic amenities, and once you give people hope to live, that is something they look forward to, and they themselves will know, well, I am of value and I can change my life. You understand? That is what I'm going to do. Now, I was asked to speak about what's going to happen either tomorrow or Friday with respect to the opening of this highway to Sangre, Grande. Listen, all I have to say is this. The same money is spent on that highway. All that highway is going to do is lessen the time you get into Sangre Grande by 15 minutes. You say you're going to spend 200 or 300 million